This is Mac OS Ken.
Masks may be dropping at Apple stores, more on Apple and the DOJ requests, and the first official signs of the next iPhones. It is Monday, the 14th of June, 2021. I'm Ken Ray, and this is news from Mac OS Ken, brought to you by yours truly and sponsored by Fundrise, the future of real estate investing. Learn more at fundrise.com/MacOSCan. This show is also sponsored by the Business Movers podcast from Wondery. Now on Season 5, The Enlightenment of Steve Jobs. We tend to lionize people from the past. George Washington never told a lie. Ben Franklin never met with failure. We could try that with Steve Jobs. From his parents' garage to the iPhone, it was a straight shot to the top. Except, of course, it wasn't. The Enlightenment of Steve Jobs tells about the between times, from the headstrong 30-year-old chased out of the company he co-founded to an executive ready and able to bring Apple back from the brink. It's a good story, it is told well, and you can hear it now. Listen to Business Movers, The Enlightenment of Steve Jobs on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or you can listen 1 week early and ad-free by joining Wondery Plus in the Wondery app. Wondery. Feel the story. An interesting story over the weekend from Bloomberg. According to that site's Mark Gurman, Apple is preparing to drop the mask mandate for vaccinated customers in some of its retail locations. The piece has a secret source saying Apple has started telling store workers in affected areas of the change. Now, I don't want to brag, but I also know secret people, and they're split. I checked in Sunday with a couple of Apple retail workers I know. One has heard what Gurman's heard, while the other has heard nothing of the kind. Makes sense, since Gurman says Apple's only telling employees in impacted markets. Proof of vaccination will not be required, according to the piece, so really, no masks required for vaccinated customers or people willing to lie about it. People who work at Apple stores will need to keep wearing masks, according to the report. And finally, every bit of this could change. The company could change its plans or delay the loosening of the restriction, according to the report, for which Apple declined to comment. Right, let's do the DOJ thing. Issues around what information Apple shared with the Department of Justice on 2 Democratic members of the U.S. House of Representatives and 1 Trump administration official are confusing. One suspects that was by design, at least in part. You remember this story, no doubt. The New York Times ran a report last Thursday evening saying that the Department of Justice, under the Trump administration, served subpoenas to Apple for info on members of the House Intelligence Committee. CNET highlights that report, saying the targets included at least 2 Democrats on the House Intelligence Committee, aides, and family members, one of whom was a minor. The 2 representatives, we later found out, were Adam Schiff and Eric Swalwell, both Democratic representatives from California. Some have wondered how that didn't raise red flags for anybody at Apple. It's because the DOJ didn't request information on the 2 individuals nor on their accounts. A piece over the weekend from Engadget says the requests were sweeping. Apple said one subpoena from February 2018 demanded 109 identifiers, 73 of them phone numbers, and the rest email addresses. The tech firm stressed that it never provided emails or pictures and that it didn't show the times or recipients for messages. Apple added that it couldn't determine the nature of the investigation from the request. Another piece from CNBC had more on that aspect. Apple spokesperson Fred Sains was quoted as saying, "We regularly challenge warrants, subpoenas, and non-disclosure orders, and have made it our policy to inform affected customers of governmental requests about them just as soon as possible. In this case, the subpoena, which was issued by a federal grand jury and included a non-disclosure order signed by a federal magistrate judge, provided no information on the nature of the investigation, and it would have been virtually impossible for Apple to understand the intent of the desired information without digging through users' accounts. Consistent with the request, Apple limited the information it provided to account subscriber information and did not provide any content such as emails or pictures. As for telling affected users as soon as possible, last month was as soon as possible. Quoting the CNBC piece again, because of a non-disclosure order signed by a federal magistrate judge, Apple could not notify the people that their data was subpoenaed. The so-called gag order lifted on the 5th of May, which is why Apple only recently alerted the affected users. Apple either has a plan to make sure something like this doesn't happen again, or wants it to look that way anyway. Quoting a piece from Apple Insider, Apple said it began to enforce limits on legal orders for data after the government started to ask for information on more than 100 accounts in a single request, the report said. The new rule was put in place sometime after the Trump administration's leak investigation and restricts requests to 25 identifiers per subpoena. Sounds cool, though if you're dealing with a justice system that's rubber stamping the requests of a corrupt administration, it seems possible that the only thing that would have to happen for this to work again is 4 more sheets of paper. Anyway, that might be a concern. Now, there was one other interesting aspect that came out over the weekend. It appears it wasn't only Democrats targeted. Another piece from Engadget cites another piece from the New York Times. That has secret sources indicating that the Justice Department subpoenaed Apple for information about former President Trump's White House counsel, Don McGahn, in February 2018. It's not clear what the FBI was looking for or if McGahn was the focus, but officials issued gag orders barring Apple from notifying the counsel for a while. They'd only told him about the request in May of this year. What nobody knows for certain is why. Engadget went on to say there were a number of potential issues at play. Trump was angry with McGahn at the time over Robert Mueller's Russia investigation and January 2018 leak, but the Times considered that unlikely. However, the request might also have stemmed from the Mueller investigation itself. McGahn was the Trump campaign's top lawyer in 2016. With a new day dawning and a new breeze blowing, the DOJ has decided to look into all of this. Following Thursday's reports, says another piece from Apple Insider, Deputy Attorney General Lisa Monaco has called for an investigation into the subpoena served on Apple for phone records of House Democrats. The piece goes on to say that Justice Department officials have confirmed that the department's internal watchdog will be looking into the subpoenas. The raft of rumored antitrust legislation aimed at big tech is no longer just rumor. I told you Friday of a number of bills aimed at curbing anti-competitive behavior and limiting mergers. Last week's report from Apple Insider said a package of 5 bills is reportedly about to be presented. Then Friday happened, and so did that. Engadget says members of the House of Representatives introduced the 5 bills that the piece says would place significant limits on major tech companies including Apple, Google, Facebook, and Amazon. They are the American Choice and Innovation Online Act. This measure would prevent tech platforms from advantaging their own business over a competitor. Representative David Cicilline, chair of the House Antitrust Subcommittee, says it would keep Amazon from manipulating their marketplaces to promote their own products. Engadget says it could also address concerns that Apple preferences its own services in the App Store. The Ending Platform Monopolies Act. This one would prevent big tech companies from selling products in marketplaces they control, according to Engadget. It's aimed at Amazon specifically, according to the report. The Platform Competition and Opportunity Act. This one would prevent dominant platforms from acquiring companies that represent competitive threats. The Augmenting Compatibility and Competition by Enabling Service Switching Act of 2021. This bill would make it easier to quit social media and take your data with you, according to lawmakers. And finally, the Merger Filing Fee Modernization Act of 2021. This bill raises the cost for merger filing fees, giving the FTC and the Department of Justice more money for investigation and enforcement. No word in the piece on next steps for all the proposed legislation. Add Japan to the list of countries targeting tech, Apple and Google specifically. Apple Insider highlights a report from the Mercury News out of San Jose that has a government panel reportedly planning to launch antitrust investigations later this month. According to Apple Insider, the panel will apparently discuss the dealings of Apple and Google with Japanese smartphone producers, including whether they handle domestic companies fairly compared to overseas vendors. More news in a moment, but first a word from Fundrise, the future of real estate investing. Fundrise lets you add private real estate to your portfolio, making it truly diversified. Back in the day, individual investors had a very difficult time investing in private real estate. Fundrise makes it so easy, even I can do it. And I have. Setting up my Fundrise account was easy. Answer a few questions, make a few decisions. Took just a few minutes. I get regular updates on what projects we're into and how my investment's performing right through the Fundrise app. I love seeing exactly how my investment is doing. Whether you're looking to add stable cash flow via dividends or prefer long-term growth through appreciation, Fundrise makes investing in private real estate as easy as investing in stocks, bonds, or mutual funds. See for yourself how 130,000 investors have built a better portfolio with private real estate. Takes just a few minutes to get started. Go to fundrise.com/macOSKen today. That's FUNDRISE. Fundrise.com/macOSKen. Fundrise.com/macOSKen. It appears to be full steam ahead on the next round of iPhones. Apple Insider says 7 unreleased iPhones have turned up in the Eurasian Economic Commission database. Past reports have explained that filings with the EEC are required by law for any encrypted devices sold in Armenia, Belarus, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, and Russia. That actually has to happen before those devices are sold, hence the next round turning up already. Regarding the latest entries, Apple Insider says the Eurasian Economic Commission database has added a series of part numbers that are listed as smartphones, Apple models. It further says that these models run software version iOS 14, confirming that they are iPhones and almost certainly variants of the forthcoming iPhone 13 range. With another socially distanced WWDC in the books, Apple has a question for developers. Do they ever want to go to an in-person developers conference again? MacRumors says the company put the question to virtual attendees last week. According to the site, one of the questions as part of the year's End of WWDC survey reads, how likely would you be to attend an in-person conference after experiencing an all-online event? That is such a difficult question. Not that I had to answer it. Unlike the in-person conference, MacRumors points out that the online format has allowed Apple to reach millions more developers and users worldwide. At the same time, there is a certain thingness to everyone being together, even if only a sliver of everyone can actually get together. MacRumors thinks the company may be considering a sort of hybrid approach, possibly planning to return to an in-person conference next year, while still retaining some aspects of a digital format. If you were on the fence about picking up one of the remaining full-size HomePods, you can go ahead and hop down now. MacRumors says Apple's first smart speaker has gone from going to gone. As of now, the report says, the delivery option for the full-sized HomePod on Apple's online store is listed as sold out, in both black and white. And finally today, there is an opening date for Apple's next flagship store. 9to5Mac says Apple has said when it'll raise the curtain on the Tower Theater location in downtown Los Angeles. Opened in 1927, the piece says Tower Theater was the first LA theater built to screen movies with sound and included modern innovations like air conditioning. As it does with such locations, Apple has restored a lot of what could be restored, recreated parts, and reimagined still others. Over the past 3 years, the piece says Apple has repaired and cleaned the terracotta tile exterior, preserved original French Renaissance-style details inside, rehabilitated the clock tower for which the theater was named, and recreated the 1927 marquee. Inside, 9to5Mac says Tower Theater's original projection stage has been reimagined with a forum and video wall where visitors can learn new skills and be inspired by local artists. Tower Theater will have its grand opening as an Apple store on Thursday, the 24th of June. macOS Ken, brought to you by me, and sponsored by the Business Movers podcast from Wondery. Catch Business Movers Season 5, The Enlightenment of Steve Jobs, on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or listen a week early and ad-free through Wondery Plus in the Wondery app. This show is also sponsored by Fundrise, the future of real estate investing. Learn more at fundrise.com/macOSCan. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media. Online at backbeatmedia.com. You can reach me a couple of ways. info@macoscan.com or call 716-780-4080. Until next time, that is news from macOS Ken. I'm Ken Ray.
Ciao.